In the archives of human history, there is a 600-year-old book that speaks a language no one can understand. It is entirely handwritten, filled with looping characters that belong to no known alphabet. The world learned of its existence in 1912 when a Polish antiquarian book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich purchased it from a Jesuit college in Italy. The book's trail goes back much further. By tracing ownership signatures visible only under ultraviolet light, historians tracked its path through the hands of 17th-century Prague alchemists and the court of the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II. Today, it sits in Yale University's Beinecke Library. For decades, skeptics argued the entire object was a modern forgery, perhaps crafted by Voynich himself. That debate ended in 2009. University of Arizona researchers extracted samples of the book's calfskin vellum and subjected them to radiocarbon dating. The results placed the creation of the parchment between 1404 and 1438. The carbon dating settles the question of the book's physical origin. This is a genuine 15th century object, and that fact transforms the text from a potential forgery into a legitimate historical mystery. Since the text gives us nothing, researchers look to the illustrations. The manuscript is structurally divided into 6 distinct thematic sections, based on the drawings covering almost every page. This page is from the manuscript's largest section, the herbal section. At first glance, it looks like a standard medieval botanical guide, but a closer inspection reveals that these plants do not exist in the natural world. They are composite creations, resembling botanical Frankenstein specimens, with mismatched leaves, roots, and flowers. The astrological section follows a similar pattern. The layout mimics standard European astronomical charts, featuring concentric circles and radiating stars. Yet, the constellations themselves are completely unrecognized, and the familiar zodiac symbols are surrounded by small, nude women tethered to stars. That bizarre human element dominates the balneological, or bathing, section. Here, the dense text is broken up by illustrations of nude women wading through green and blue pools, linked by elaborate tube-like plumbing. Every page of the manuscript mimics the layout of a late medieval encyclopedia and adopts the visual language of structured knowledge while populating that structure with an entirely alien reality. The strange cursive writing covering these pages is known as Voynichese. It is highly consistent, written left to right, and neatly arranged in word-sized clusters. Visually, it possesses all the markers of a structured writing system. Because of this consistency, many scholars assumed it was an encrypted cipher. But Voynichese has resisted every traditional method of decryption, completely stumping the elite World War II codebreakers who spent years trying to break it. This chart illustrates Zipf's law, a mathematical rule stating that in any natural language, the frequency of a word is inversely proportional to its rank. The curve of Voynichese maps onto the statistical curve of a real human language with surprising precision, but every attempt to translate it has collapsed under peer review. In the 1920s, William Romain Newbold claimed the author used a complex Greek shorthand cipher. He used a magnifying glass to break individual ink strokes down into microscopic symbols, claiming the text described cellular biology and the Andromeda Galaxy. His theory was eventually debunked. When researchers assume the text must contain a hidden message, they often force the data to fit their expectations, relying on subjective leaps of logic that cannot be verified by others. A century of failure has led researchers to a compelling counter-theory, the hoax hypothesis. It proposes the book is simply 15th century gibberish, designed to look profound by a clever scam artist hoping to sell it to a wealthy royal. This graph measures conditional character entropy, how predictable the next letter is based on the previous one. Real European languages cluster at the top, while Voynichese sits alone at the bottom. Its characters are highly predictable, severely limiting its ability to convey complex information. A creator could achieve this structure using a table and grill method. A grid of prefixes, roots, and suffixes allows a scribe to rapidly combine syllables into repetitive clusters. This mechanical generation explains the strange statistical properties without meaning anything at all. A proven hoax would make this the most sophisticated literary illusion ever documented. Its creator would have anticipated statistical patterns that mathematicians wouldn't define for another 5 centuries. Even in the modern era, the desire to find meaning persists. Recently, a team of computer scientists announced that an artificial intelligence algorithm had identified Voyniches as an encoded form of Hebrew. But cryptography experts quickly pointed out a fatal flaw in the study's methodology. The researchers had trained their AI to recognize codes by feeding it ciphers they had written themselves, rather than real historical examples. When the AI output a string of supposedly Hebrew words, the researchers still could not form coherent thoughts. They had to subjectively massage the output using Google Translate just to force a single sentence to make grammatical sense. Our most advanced pattern recognition machines are susceptible to the exact same human failing. When confronted with a mathematical void, they will hallucinate meaning where none exists. For over a century, the brightest minds in cryptography have thrown themselves at this text. Why does the academic community remain so obsessed with a book that refuses to be read? The manuscript acts as an intellectual mirror. When people look at its pages, they see their own disciplines reflected back. Alchemists see hidden alchemical secrets. Linguists see the structure of language. And computer scientists see algorithmic code. Right now, we lack the historical context to definitively prove whether it is a brilliant cipher waiting to be cracked or a medieval con job that continues to fool the modern world. The Voynich Manuscript persists because it remains entirely unresolved. It represents the absolute limit of our pattern recognition, a historical void that draws us in precisely because it offers no answers.